Welcome to Mishia Madness and Motivation Podcast. This podcast is for anyone wanting to evolve in every aspect of their life. Do you want to be better and live life to your fullest potential? Tune in with your host, blogger, entrepreneur, and beauty executive, Mishia.
Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you all for joining. Today we are joined with Candle Lockett. She is a real estate investor, realtor, and broker. And today we're going to hopefully touch on a few different topics in real estate. I'm hoping to talk about the home buying process, land buying process, and also becoming a realtor for anyone out there listening who's interested in that. Hi, Candle. How are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, gorgeous. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Good.
I'm
Thank
so
you
excited.
so much for being here. How are you feeling today?
I am doing great.
That's awesome.
I am doing great.
Would you mind telling everyone how you got started in real estate and what do you feel is the most rewarding part about it?
Oh, wow. How I got started and the most rewarding. Okay. So I have a story, right?
Yes.
It started in, I think from the very beginning, I was introduced to real estate since I was a kid. I inherited real estate. So it would go all the way back to me being 7 years old and my parents putting paintbrushes in me and my brother's hands, and they had properties. And we didn't get the context of exactly what we were doing because my parents allowed us to just be kids. It wasn't like, hey, you need to own property when you grow up. You need to understand this or that or whatever. It was just like, hey, I'll pay you in Church's Chicken. How many walls you do is determine how many rolls you're going to get. It was like that type of negotiation. We didn't get it. We were just like, oh, why are we in this house? It's dirty. It's nasty. We want to go home and watch cartoons or go over to my grandmother's house. We don't want to be here. So they had to kind of negotiate with us, but they never said, hey, when you grow up, you need to become a real estate investor. You need to buy real estate or anything like that. We were just in it. I remember going with my dad to go collect rent. I remember loving to write receipt books and, getting the money, but my dad never broke it down to like the exact science of what he was doing for us or why they were doing it. I just knew that we had other properties that we didn't live in, other people did, and we were serving the community. Because what my parents were doing, which was like what they call now was buying the block. We went back into our own community and repurchased the houses. So, fast forward to like after graduating from college, and actually in college, I have a degree in early childhood education. And I remember I was late as usual, scheduling for classes, and I wasn't able to get into this education math class that was a requirement for me to graduate. I had to go over to the business department to take the business math, which was equivalent. And I remember I got in there and I was blowing everything out the water. I mean, I knew every business question. I loved it. But my mindset was, no, it's education. I'm going to be a kindergarten teacher. And I remember the professor called me into his office, and he was like, I need to talk to you. And I'm thinking like I'm failing miserably. And, and he was going to, admonish me for, underperforming because I'm an education major in a business class. Well, he was like, I think you're in the wrong major. You need to be over here. I'm like, no, I'm a kindergarten. He's like, no, I'm telling you, there's no way. You know more than my business majors know. You were in the wrong building. And so it went from there. It just kind of just stuck with me. Like, how did this man know this about me? And I don't know this about myself. But once I became a kindergarten teacher, taught for many, many years in kindergarten classroom. And then when the market crashed, I had the opportunity to go teach overseas. And that was the life changer. It was the beginning of something big because I saw how other people lived that were not struggling from paycheck to paycheck. I had the opportunity to live rent-free, tax-free, and my friends who were also teachers had nannies. We were able to cruise on yachts and buy, red bottom shoes and buy Louis Vuittons.
Why'd
and
you
we were
come
teachers.
Back?
Okay, I'm getting to that. So to see that amount of just wealth, it was like, oh my gosh, I've seen this. I could have this if I wanted it, but I've never wanted it as a classroom teacher. No shade to teachers, but we're about serving kids. We've never been about yachts and all that because we've always had this mindset, and society has taught us that we only make this amount of money. There's only so much you're going to make as a teacher because you have the summers off. So we never had that mindset, oh yeah, one day I'm gonna have some red bottom shoes. So to get over there and get exposed to that, it's like, Kendall, you could be greater. You could do more than this. Well, so the goal was like intentionally, like, I'm going to get into real estate investing. So I'm like, okay, this opportunity for me to stack up a lot of cash, come back, buy some properties or what have you. Well, unfortunately, my father had been diagnosed with cancer. So I had to come back. And of course, I'm a daddy's girl. So I was taking care of everything. Like I was taking care of the properties. I was, handling everything so that my mom and dad could just chill while he recovered. Well, unfortunately, he didn't recover from it. But I remember I was like in this mode of, I got to get back to work. I got to go find a classroom to get into. I got to get a job. I got to be a job. My dad was like, Kendall, why do you need a job when you can just go around to all the properties and collect rent and let it pay your bills? And then the light bulb came on, like, this is why he's done what he was doing all these years. He did it to give us these memories. He gave us this luxury that when something happens like this, we're good. We're taken care of. Like my mom didn't have to want for anything. I didn't have to. And I remember at the same time, I was incredibly grateful because I just happened to have friends that were dealing with something very similar where they had to go to work every single day, then have to deal with a family member that was sick. Whereas I got to sleep late. I got to be with my dad all day long. I got to spend time with him. We had nurses. I mean, it was a blessing. And it was all because of this real estate. Who knew? So fast forward, after my father passed away, one of his best friends is his financial advisor. He approached me, and I'm pretty sure, I don't even know how it happened because everything was such a blur at that time. But I remember him saying, like, do you realize that heirs lose everything within 3 years of them getting it? And I'm just like, oh. And I wasn't mad because I'm thinking he said that to me for a reason. And so lo and behold, I took that as an opportunity to grow. And I was like, I'm not going to do that to my dad because I've seen what it could do for families. I got my butt into real estate school. And so I was like, instead of me losing everything, I'm going to do the exact opposite. So let me get more real estate and continue to grow the portfolio. But I need to know about it better first. So when I got into the class, my teacher was an African-American woman, very, very smart, Miss Taylor. And I was so blown away by how fast everything just made sense to me. It was like I was back in that business class all over again. It was deja vu.
It was like you
I
were
was
meant to
supposed
be
to be there.
there.
I was supposed to be there. I was doing deals before I even had my license. I was helping people save houses. I was doing quick claim deeds. I mean, everything just made sense. And so it was one particular time in class. I remember the light bulb came on where she was talking about how African Americans, we're the second largest minority, but we're the lowest minority in home ownership. And it struck a nerve with me because I'm like, wait a minute, what? I said, oh, well, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's my calling. I got a degree in teaching. I could teach us, my community, how to do this because I know I've experienced what it's like to just have that, just even if you just had one house that was producing income for you, it's a game changer. Because even after my father passed away, we are still receiving money from those properties. And that's what we should be having. It should be generational wealth. And so it's already planned like, okay, so even like it's even in the Bible, it's your children's children that should be receiving. And so we don't talk about that. And I love having these uncomfortable conversations because I'm all about home ownership. And you hear a lot of people say, oh, well, you don't need to own a house. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of do. And it's just my belief on it because I'm like, there's nothing wrong with owning a house because if something were to happen, you have that insurance policy, it pays it off. Or you live in the house, you pay down on it. You could take that equity right now and start buying your first income producing property.
So how do you feel about people owning condominiums or like apartments that are within buildings?
It's the same thing. It is still real estate. Yeah, because you have ownership. It's not about whatever it is. It could be a mobile home. Mm-hmm. It's the ownership of it. When you have the ownership, you have leverage to do whatever you want to do with it. In the same way with land, it could be as long as it's an asset that is going to increase in time over value, you can start a business with it. I mean, because you can always borrow against it, refinance it.
So you would
go ahead.
Continue to build. So you would say even mm-hmm. land that is vacant without a home or an apartment is valuable.
Absolutely. Especially right now in this seller's market.
Yes.
I mean, builders are everywhere trying to find land. this thing, if you're just sitting on land, like right now in my family, we have land and builders are constantly contacting us about, hey, we want to get it. We're like, nope, I don't care. We're not selling it. We haven't figured out what we're going to do with it yet, but we just know that they're needing it. So, and the thing is, because the land is paid off, you can always get that land appraised. When you find out the value of it, there's banks that would love to say, hey, sure, use that land as collateral if you want to start another business, or if you want to take that money and buy some property, some real estate, and put tenants in it and start getting income back, and then letting that income pay off that loan that you took against the land. That's leverage right there. You're not paying anything out of your pocket.
That's amazing, because I didn't even know, unless you have the background, well, for me at least, because I don't have the background in real estate, there's just so many things that I don't know about the process and how to, like, that's a really smart way to go about it. Well, so what are some things that you would say someone, like if someone's looking to buy their first home right now, and it's going to be their first time going through the process, and they're doing all their research and they find a home, what are some things that they should have done before they even put in their offer?
Wow. Now you asked at a great time, because it is officially a seller's market. It's been all over the news because of the rates dropping, which of course they did because of COVID. Everybody's buying. However, because of COVID, the price of lumber has gone up, and plus many developers shut down, and plus many people didn't want to leave their homes. So now we have a seller's market because there's less than 3 months of inventory on any market right now in the United States. Like I saw a screenshot of a house in Atlanta, Georgia, where it has 112 offers on it, and it's at 200,000. So yeah. So, I mean, if you're in the seller's market right now, it's like a catch-22, because we're finding that some people say, hey, we want to wait it out. We just think it's too heavy right now because we can't compete with all of that. But the only caveat with waiting it out is you're going to be paying a higher interest rate later on. So it's either, I would say the first thing I would recommend is, one, getting with a realtor that knows how to get their offer accepted, making sure that they are in the right market, because every realtor, like right now, I'm in the state of Georgia. Even though I'm not specifically in Augusta, I'm in Atlanta. That doesn't mean I can say, oh yeah, girl, let me help you find a house in Augusta. I'm not in Augusta. You need to find an agent that is in that exact zip code where you want to live. And I understand everybody knows a realtor. It might be your cousin, it might be your mom, but if your mom is not in that area, say, mom, find me a realtor that is in this zip code, and you can get, of course, they'll get a referral from it. But it's kind of like you got to put your affairs to the side if it's that realtor, for the bigger interest of that client. Like I know nothing about that area. Let me find somebody that specifically knows this area. And then that can help you get your offer accepted, because realtors know each other, especially in that one zip code. They know the agent, they're in the same office, they know what's coming soon. There have been many offers that have been accepted before they even hit the market, because two agents knew each other, they'd work well together, and they know that one is going to help the other out get to the closing table. So, I mean, there is, yes, you do see on the news that it is a seller's market, and it is, but there's so many ways to get around that. There is a potential that you will have to pay your closing costs out of pocket. That's just coming from savings. You will have to save for your closing costs. There's a potential that you will have to maybe put a little bit more down on your earnest money, which is what you would put down just to say, it's kind of like an engagement ring. It's what you kind of show the seller, like, hey, this is how serious I am about buying your house. I will buy your house and I'm going to put $2,000 down. The seller never gets it. It just goes, like a middle person would hold it, like either the closing attorney or one of the agents, the brokerages, right? And in the event you have a 2-week period to change your mind. Let's say after those 2 weeks, the buyer says, I don't want it no more. Well, that seller gets that money, which is fair, because that buyer kind of wasted 2 weeks of that seller's time by saying, I'm going to commit to doing it. And then they don't. So they get that ring. They get the whatever amount earnest money. Typically it's 1% of the sales price, right? So, I mean, there's lots of options. I wrote even on my blog, 13 ways to get your offer accepted in the seller's market. So it can be done. It's really just comes down to what you know and what your agent knows. And if your agent doesn't know a lot, fire them, because there is an agent that is going to get to that closing table. Believe someone is getting to the closing table. You just got to get the right agent that can get it done.
And how do you feel about people putting in like a backup offer on like, you know, if they don't want to just put all their eggs in one basket.
That is common. A lot of people are doing the backup offers, but when you do it, you still have to follow up. Like that agent still has to call and say, "Hey, I'm checking on that property. Is it still under contract? Hey, you know, where do we stand?" Because I've been guilty of it. I've been a listing agent and a deal will fall through and we would have backup offers. I would forget because we have so much stuff going on. And unless that agent called and said, "Hey, checking on everything," we'll forget to put that thing right back on the market when the seller tells us to. So it's up to the agent to be responsible to just say, "Hey, let me check on every week. Let me see how this deal is going. Let me see the progress of it." Because there's 9 times out of 10, those deals fall through. That's another thing because we get so many buyers get so caught up in, I got to get it. I got to get it. And then when they get it, they be like, I don't want it. I don't want it. Like one of my agents was like, "Kendall, we lost 3 deals because they had a listing and it went through 3 times. It finally came to the 3rd buyer in the seller's market."
And it happens though. It happens.
Yeah. Because they're determined to get their offer accepted. Then when they get it, they're like, "I changed my mind." And it goes right back on the market. So it's like you could definitely, somebody's getting to the closing table.
So it sounds like having though an agent is really important. You know what,
Yes.
No matter if you're putting in 1 offer, 2 or 3, you're gonna definitely need someone who knows what they're doing.
It all comes down to, in this market, it comes down to your agent. This isn't the time when you get your cousin that just got a real estate license. I'm just be honest. Right. You need somebody that, like I said, that cousin, if they have their real estate license, let them get money through referring them to a more experienced agent that can handle this market. Or they have a one-on-one mentor, because of course everyone's like, "Oh, I can handle it." No, you can't, because you got to know the right wording. Because if you write an offer representing the buyer and it has too much wording in it, we're going to bypass that. Like, they want too much. There's no way we're not giving home buyer warranty. We are not adding this. We are not changing the blind color. We are not painting this, and not in this market. Forget it. Move on to the next. I mean, that's what the sellers are going to do. They'll go to the next one. If you just make it clean, this is what I'm going to buy. This is how much I'm going to pay for it. This is how soon I can buy it, and let it be, you can get it accepted.
So can we get into what the difference of buying a home would be from buying land?
Mm-hmm.
And then I also want to ask, what if someone's looking to do both, like simultaneously? Are they going to have to go through 2 different deals, essentially?
Okay, so are you buying land to put a house on, or are you just buying land to just watch it and let it appreciate in value? It depends on your goal with land.
Okay, so in this instance, let's say you're getting land to put a house on it.
Okay. Well, there's 2 ways you can do it. And several buyers are starting to do that now because they are somewhat like, you know what, we don't do what we want. We don't want to get out here with all these other people trying to buy. Let's just buy land, pay it off. So, I mean, you have options. You can get the land and there's financing, there's lenders for land. And you can just say, "Hey, right now we're just going to pay on it till we pay it off." And then we'll start looking at finding a builder or developer for it, or maybe building it ourselves, which you could do. So, I mean, you have an option with that if you were trying to put a house on it. If you're just saying, "I'm just going to buy some land," because maybe it might be 90. I think the rule of thumb is like you buy land at least, I think it's 2 hours away from where the major city is, or where a new development is. You go another 2 hours out, because eventually that's where they're going to go. So, and as you just watch your value increase of that land. So if you're just going to get land just for that, you could just get that financed through a land financing.
So when you go, you still have to go through inspections with land, like with housing, or no?
No. Now, unless you plan to, like I said, it goes back to your goals. Because there's many people that just buy land to buy land. They'll say, "Oh, I'll buy it, and maybe one day I might put container homes on it, or I might put mobile home park on it." Or maybe, and a lot of people buy land just to add it to their portfolio and let it increase in value, borrow against it, right? It just depends. It's so many goals with land. Or some people buy land and wait for a commercial company to reach out to them, or development. So they're waiting long term. You can't always, get it appraised. You can always get it surveyed. You can find out like what can be done with this land. If it's off the street, you definitely want to make sure like, "Hey, if somebody buys this land from me, can they put a house on it? Or could I put a house on it?" So, I mean, you do have to do your research on that, but it's so many things that you can do with land. It's people that are buying land like South Georgia, to where they let people go hunting on it, or they'll rent out their land to a traveling carnival
Right. So it all depends. And I understand that. But I guess it would be like a good key for people to just be open-minded, like when looking, because it just sounds like land is valuable no matter how you dice it up, you know?
It is definitely, I mean, to me, I would see land as like a savings account. I've always been fascinated with land because a lot of people are like, oh, it's just land. You can't do nothing with it. Well, whatever. It's like a bank account in a sense. It just increases in value. And now in Georgia, I had this big Earth Day last year. I remember I brought a lot of attention to how it was literally over 8,000 lots in the state of Georgia for less than $5,000. Now, ask me how many it is today.
How many is it today?
You're talking about less than 100. That fast. Now, think if you would have purchased that land last year, how much it appreciated over in 1 year. Because think of that time, we became a blue state. Then we're still in this seller's market where people are trying to buy, builders are looking for land. It appreciated just like that.
Wow, that's amazing. So I have to ask you, what is your dream project?
Oh, wow. That is a great question. No one has ever asked me that. I would say my dream project, I have some land that I want to develop. I have some, but that's not a dream project. That's kind of easy to do. I haven't thought about a dream project. Let's see, you're gonna have me thinking tonight and praying and
You
get
could
alignment
do
with God.
anything you wanted.
I know. I
What
have
would
not
that
thought
be?
about. Let's see if I did a dream project.
Well, why you think
Uh-huh.
about that though? You are developing land. You want to develop land to do what with
Yeah.
it?
Put another house on it to make it income producing property.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's not really just like when we bought it, we bought the house and then it came with land. So we're like, oh, eventually we'll get around to it. So that's like, that's really not. But
So
I
that's
think,
just what's next.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's
Okay.
next. I have not really thought about it. I'm not a person that is like obsessed with having a dream home because I have no attachment to homes. I guess because I've just grown up, you know, being an investor, whatever. So I can't really say, oh, I'll build a dream home or whatever. Because if I build one dream home, the next week I'll find another house that I want to
Yeah,
get. So
it could be anything, you know. I don't know, like if you are into, well, you were a kindergarten teacher.
mhm.
So it could be a daycare, or it could be anything, you
Oh,
know, just because
you
real
know what?
estate, it doesn't necessarily have to be a home,
No, you know what
right?
I would love to have, even though I want to own the building, but I've always wanted a beauty supply store.
Really? Beauty
I'm
supply. I
obsessed with hair.
love beauty supply stores.
I can hang out. It's like a drug addiction. I can just hang out in there all day long, but I want it owned by us. And I am seeing more and more of us
Yes.
owning. But yeah, I think it's just something personal because I remember when I had a screen printing and embroidery business a while back, we have a license where we can go into wholesale companies. And I was in Atlanta and we were in, it was like me and my partner, we were in a building where we could get a lot of things wholesale, like t-shirts, socks, and all this stuff. And I remember they had hair care supplies. And I'm like, oh my God, it's about to happen. I'm opening up a beauty. I had no idea where the building was. All I knew was gonna fill my trunk with all this beauty supply stuff. And I remember it was ran by Asians. And I remember the Asians that were literally speaking in their language that they were not going to tell me how much it was, how I could get it. They
Wow.
really made sure that I could not find out the information
And I'm
to
sure
get
that
those
happens
products.
often.
Yeah, and it's still dominated by Asians, and it's a
Sure.
billion-dollar industry, but it's us that's buying.
Yes.
And I'm just
And
like,
when I go to melanated ownered
yeah,
beauty supply stores, we
mhm,
just have everything. You know, we have
yeah,
everything that we could be looking for. Not to say that the other stores don't, but we know what we like. So it's
mm,
different. It's like a consumer turned seller. It's just an amazing
exactly.
experience.
Exactly. Because I remember I went into one in Atlanta off of Camp Creek, and it used to be a Barnes and Nobles, and they took it over. And I remember I went in there, and I still had this, I was like, I still want my beauty supply store, and I asked them like, hey, I'm looking for this particular product that it goes on the scalp and it does this, da 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 da. It was really, really popular on YouTube and all the forums and stuff. And they were just like, I don't know. And I'm just like, see, this is why it needs to be for us, by us, because a sister would know what I'm talking about right
a
now.
sister would be in tune with the culture.
And I had to go to YouTube to find it. And I'm like, why am I going to YouTube when right here? But they don't know. They don't care. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't
That's
think
what it is. It's the not caring part.
Yeah. And then you go in and it's just me, and maybe I'm nitpicky, but I'm like, it's not clean. And I'm just like, but my dollar is good. Why is it not clean in here? Y'all can't clean up for us? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how can people become a realtor?
Oh, well, that's easy. Right now, COVID actually produced a lot of realtors because you were able to take your classes online. So while we were stuck, a lot of people just took the online classes. I want to say it's like, I can't even think off the top of my head, maybe 120 hours.
Okay, so it's by hour.
Yeah, it's by hours. When I took it, it was by weeks. Well, no, it equivalated to hours, but we did it. I think it only lasted maybe 2.5 weeks for us to do it. And then we had to take the state test. No, we had to take the classroom test. So if you did it online, you would have to take the whatever curriculum you were using online. You had to pass that test and then prepare for the state test. Yep.
And the state test, was it really hard? She's like, well, I'm on the other side of that now. So
well, this is the thing. It depends on how well you study, how passionate you are about it.
Were the questions tricky? Did you feel that you had to study really hard?
I was so excited. Well, for me, it was like that. I can't.
You're a natural.
Gardner. Yeah, well, it's Chris Gardner. Remember the movie, The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith? Okay.
Yes.
Chris Gardner, who the movie was based on, he had this quote that there's never a plan B. It's always plan A. You don't plan for a plan B. So I went in with that mindset. So it was like, well, I got to pass. There's no other option to this. Okay. So I went in. I remember staying in my room. I ordered enough takeout for an entire week. And I said, okay, I think I took the test on a Monday. I gave myself that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I didn't leave my room. I just took a shower. I watched YouTube. I read books. I did apps. I took every single real estate test there was that I could Google online in every state.
Nice.
So it was not an option. It was like, I'm passing this. There's no other way. So the first time I took it, I over prepared. I went in and I was like, oh, I'm chill. It's only 100 questions. Where I came from with this 100 questions was a lie. So I just paced myself and I'm like, oh, I passed this. So when I get to 100, I see a button come up saying next. And I'm like, next? You a lie. I had additional like 30 questions. And I'm like, oh my God, I freaked out. And of course, I did not have enough time because I paced myself. Okay, with 100 questions, I could just spend at least 2 minutes on each one.
Yeah.
So I had enough time for that. But then I freaked out like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have enough time for these extra 30 questions.
Right.
And I missed it by 2 points.
Wow.
So then, of course, I took a shot of some vodka.
Yes.
Sucked it up for the team, got back online and registered again. And I passed it.
Right. Because, 2 points. That was just nerves.
It was just being over prepared. I was just feeling like, oh, I got this. We good. I was like, it's easy. Let me go ahead and pick my realtor name right now. I mean, I was done. And then when I saw that.
So is there a particular school, or is it you just pick whatever you're into as far as a realtor license?
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to go according to your state.
Right.
So whatever state you're in, you would Google more so of, let's say if you're in Texas, the Texas Real Estate Commission. And then once you do that, and then you also see other search results of like where you could take the online classes. Cause I don't even think anywhere right now is doing classes in person. So you can still take advantage of it by doing it online. And it's fairly cheap. Like I think my class was maybe $325. Yes, so online, I'm pretty sure it's about $400, $425, but it's worth it. One thing about, and I want to make this very clear, whoever's listening, if you want to be a realtor, real estate classes do not teach you about real estate sales. What it does is just give you the background on real estate, which is why I took the course, because I want to know more about real estate, so that I could keep these properties. Now, going out to find clients, to get leads, to follow up with leads, to get scripts, that's something totally different you learn once you get your license. That's up to your broker to teach you. So a lot of people have that misconception like, oh, well, when do I get to learn how to find clients, or, how to do my first buyer meeting? It don't work that. You learn. I mean, it's a thick book. I wish I could. Where is my book? My book is this thick. And we went through that entire book. And everybody complained about how thick it was and how we're not going to use any of this for our real estate sales. And we don't. But I loved it. I went through the entire book. I read it and I use it for my blog because there's certain things some things people need to know. And I mean, I use it when I have consultations. I'm like, oh no, but you still need to know about surveys. You need to know about appraisals.
Yes. It's certain things you need to have that foundation of knowledge.
Yes. But so now when they take the course, I think the book is maybe this big now. It's not even nowhere near as big as this. Yeah.
They're cheating all the newbies.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, truthfully, you don't really need it if you're going to do sales. That's the thing.
Filler.
It's kind of like, why do we need all this? So for me though, because I knew I wanted to educate, once the light bulb came on that, that our community was being underserved, that we didn't own as much real estate as we needed to be owning, I was like, let me take all of this and start applying this every way I can. And so I just started teaching as I was working with my clients. I was teaching them every little thing, like, no, then we do this, no, da 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 da. So that way I was like, my goal is I want to teach you so much that you could tell your cousin how to buy a house. And then if you want to, get your real estate license, let me show you how to do that so you can help them buy a house and get the commission. And then that way, everybody is making money and owning houses.
That's such a blessing.
Because I'm like, I can't do it all. I don't want to do it all. I want to serve.
Yes. And thank you for serving and for being a blessing, because it really just takes that one person to say, I'm going to pay it forward,
Absolutely.
Knowledge is something that no one can take it from you. The only thing that'll end it is your life,
Yeah.
So what is it to just teach someone else?
It's kind of like my name. Like a candle loses nothing to light another candle.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I won't lose anything. So if I tell you how to buy a house and tell you, though, this is what you got to do. And then, because I love it when my clients say, Candle, I'm getting my real estate license. Good, because your mother-in-law needs a house. Make sure that you get them into a house and call me if you need anything. That's just how I am. Because it's like, I don't have to get that sale. As long as I'm getting somebody else to get the real estate license.
Yes.
That's what I want. And to get a house.
Great. So where can people find your podcast and read up on your blog? I know your podcast is Lighting Up Real Estate.
Yeah.
And your blog is named My Life in Real Estate, right?
Yeah. Yes. It is My Life in Real Estate. Yeah. I just rebranded it to My Life in Real Estate because I do so much in real estate, from talking about it to writing about it to rehabbing it. We got a new rehab coming up. And I'm working on getting my contractor's license. Like I said, I plan to develop. So yeah, My Life in Real Estate is today is kind of dope. We're being kind of laid back today. So
yes, awesome.
So yeah, so definitely you can find me on My Life in Real Estate. If you want to get into real estate investing, I'm also a consultant. So if you want to just get an idea of like, how can I align my life, how it currently is right now, with my goals and how I can get into real estate investing, that's what I love to do. Because we can have a conversation. I'll say, no, this is where you need to go. Or this is how you go about doing it. I can create a step-by-step plan for you to get that first property. Or if you don't even want to be a landlord, you don't have to be a landlord to be a real estate investor. There's so many avenues to where you can do it. But I just feel like everybody needs to own some type of real estate. Even if you just buy land and hold it, you got ownership. And you never know when that will come in handy for you.
Yes. And I'm going to be leaving your website link down below. And I just wanted to thank you again. Thank you so much for just sharing all of these gems and being here.
No problem. Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, it was my pleasure.